The Lord be with you.
With your spirit.
A reading from the Holy Gospel according to Luke. Great crowds were traveling with Jesus, and he turned and addressed them. If anyone comes to me without hating his father and mother, wife and children, brothers and sisters, and even in his own life, he cannot be my disciple. Whoever does not carry his own cross and come after me cannot be my disciple. Which of you, wishing to construct a tower, does not first sit down and calculate the cost, to see if there is enough for its completion? Otherwise, after laying the foundation and finding himself unable to finish the work, the onlookers should laugh at him and say, "This one began to build but did not have the resources to finish." But what king marching into battle would not first sit down and decide whether with 10,000 troops he can successfully oppose another king advancing upon him with 20,000 troops? But if not, while he is still far away, he will send a delegation to ask for peace terms. In the same way, any one of you who does not renounce all his possessions cannot be my disciple. The Gospel of the Lord.
Praise you, Lord Jesus Christ.
In order to be a disciple of Jesus, you need to hate your family. You need to hate your family. Really? Seems very odd. Why would Jesus say that? You want to be my disciples, you have to hate your father and mother and wife and children and brothers and sisters, even yourself, even your own life. What an odd thing to say. The English word hate comes from haten. It's an old English word from the 10th century. Haten, it means hate. Hate someone, hate something. The Greek word in the gospel today is miso. The Latin is odium. They all mean to hate, same thing. Gotta hate your family. But hate in the Scriptures has a different nuance to it or meaning than in English, in our culture. Your child may say at the dinner table, "I hate broccoli." Well, that's an exaggeration. I mean, it's a plant. You can't hate a plant. Or I hate French fries. I'd rather have tater tots. Hate in our culture is a strong word. Those examples is overused. It's an exaggeration. Usually, hate, as we understand, is an intense feeling. But that's not how it's meant in the Scripture. That's not what miso means. It really has to do with preference. It has to do with priorities. I prefer French fries to tater tots. I prefer broccoli to some other vegetable, potatoes. But the hate in that sense has to do with making a choice. The culture in which Jesus is living is very dominated by the male head of the household. The father was in charge, big time. He was the boss. What he thought is what the family thought. What he did, that's what the family did. But he's the boss. He's the one that goes out in public to the marketplace and interacts with other men. Wife, supposed to stay home, stay out of sight, raise the children, cook the meals. And for heaven's sakes, don't say anything. Don't have an opinion. Then, of course, we have the children who, before the age of 12, are hardly considered human, the way they're treated, talked about in the Scriptures. And so what Jesus is proposing to the crowd, which would have upset them and shocked them, is I want you to let go of that idea of domination by the family and move your loyalty to me. So hate your family means to move your preference from the family to Jesus. You can't do both. It's not up to the father of the family, if you're one of the children, whether you're going to become a disciple of Jesus. It's up to you. For women, this was outstanding. This was revolutionary. They could actually have an idea and make a choice other than the father's choice or the husband's choice. Revolutionary. They would have been aghast. If you want to be my disciple, move your concentration onto Jesus. Put Jesus first, not the family, but Jesus first in order to be his disciple. Then he talks about this idea of building a tower. He's going to give them a parable. A person's going to build a tower. Jesus said, well, he'd probably sit down and figure out what he needs to build a tower. Does he know how to build a tower? Does he have the money to build a tower? Does he have the materials? So he'd plan it out. I'm going to build this tower. Says you don't want to be the person who gets half done, can't finish it, is going to laugh at you because you don't have the sense God gave you to have a plan. Then he has the example of a king. He's going to march into battle. He's got 10,000 troops. That's a lot of troops. But the king coming at him, he's got 20,000 troops. He's going to beat him. So the king with the 10,000 needs to negotiate before disaster hits and wipes out all of his army. So he needs a plan. That's what Jesus is talking about. To be a disciple, you should have a plan. Once you move the family out of the center of your life and put Jesus there, you still love your family, love your spouse, love your children, love your parents, but they don't determine whether you're a disciple of Jesus or not. Again, revolutionary. You do that. You get to make a choice. So once you put Jesus at the center of your life, now you need a plan. You don't want to go through life bouncing from one issue to another, sort of bumbling along. You need a plan. How are we going to be a disciple of Jesus? Just like building a tower or going into battle. You need a plan. Once we put Jesus center, now what are we going to do to be a disciple? But putting Jesus first in your life and having a plan will come with a cost. It will cost you. Jesus calls it your cross. That would also have been shocking to his listeners. Hated the cross, the terrible thing. It was a horrible means of execution by the Romans who they loathed. Hated the Romans. Hated that crucifixion. It was awful. But Jesus is using that symbol of the cross as a sign of suffering. And everything in life that's worth doing comes with suffering. Going to school, that costs you a whole bunch. Not just money, but time and investment and stress. Becoming an apprentice, say you want to be an electrician, got to go to school, got to join a company, be an apprentice, get certified. That all takes time, it takes effort, and it can be painful and stressful. So anything that we do in life comes at a cost. And that's what Jesus is saying about being a disciple. You got to invest. You have to invest in that being a disciple of Jesus. Whatever the cost is to be that disciple, he says, accept it. Don't fight it. Accept it as he would accept the cross on Good Friday. Accept it. Put your arms around it and hug it. Accept that suffering because it's what makes us disciples. Otherwise, we have the label, we don't do the work. If you don't do the work, Jesus says you can't be my disciple. So we're called then to put Jesus center in our lives, not us or our family or other people. It's Jesus center in our life. Have a plan. How am I going to be a disciple? One way that we talk about of being a disciple is stewardship. Managing what the Lord has given us in time, talent, and treasure. What's the Lord given us? How are we going to live out our call to discipleship through the things that we have, through our life, through our skills, through the time that we have, through the resources we have. But have a plan for that. Just don't let it happen accidentally. You had a plan today to come here. Whenever you decided at home, going to church, you have a plan. And here you are. So the next question is, what are you going to do for the rest of the day? What's going to be your plan as a disciple of Jesus Christ? What's your plan for the week? What's your plan for the fall? Here we're almost to Labor Day. Summer's almost over. It's time to put all the beach tools away and put all of our summer clothing away and go back to normal. Go back how it usually is when we're not always on vacation. So what are we going to do during this fall to fulfill the call in our baptism to be disciples of Jesus Christ? Question we can ask ourselves when faced with a moral issue: what would Jesus do? If I'm tempted to steal something at work, what would Jesus do about that? Would he steal it? Of course not. So don't do it. What would Jesus do? That's the guide. In terms of things or relationships, how we live out our lives. What would Jesus do? It puts Jesus center of our life. Now we have a plan to carry out that call to discipleship. Have a plan, we know what we're going to do. Maybe we'll do something that we've been doing for years. Along these organizations, we help out these people, we give our money to particular charities. Or we may try something new, find a new activity during the fall. That's something new I can challenge myself with. That's part of my plan as a disciple of Jesus. Well, whatever that is, it comes with a cross. And so we're called to embrace it. Don't run away from it. Otherwise, you won't be a disciple. Because discipleship comes with a cost, comes with a cross. We embrace the cross. There are people in this world during the history of Christianity, they're embracing that cross cost them their lives. They lost their life because they got killed because they were Christian, because they were living out their lives as disciples. Well, hopefully that's not going to happen to any of us. But we still have the cross. We still have that suffering, the hardships, the things we need to give up, things we need to invest. So we're called to do that. So this fall, between now and the end of the year, what can be our plan? How can we live out that discipleship? How can we put Jesus first and live out that call of our baptism to be followers of Jesus? But followers of Jesus means we're doing something. We're just not sitting down. To follow Jesus is to literally follow him and put Jesus first in our lives.